Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m., go to bed already. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Bailed out on YouTube. We were just having way too many troubles with the streaming capabilities there. And here on Twitch, side by side with whatever the heck I do there. I'm not entirely sure what to call it. But we're there now. So anyway, if you've been listening to me on Twitch, right, watching me, whatever. If you've been paying attention to me on Twitch, you know I have been covering E3 to a certain extent. Just getting the quick blips out as they've been breaking, that sort of stuff. So today we're going to talk about some of it in depth. I can't cover all of E3. There's just so much. And on top of that, there's WWDC to talk about too. That happened as well. And there's some nowhere near as interesting nuggets as there were in the past. But there are some interesting ones. Like, for example, watchOS 3. Which should have been watchOS 1. But wasn't. So, what's the big additions to watchOS 3? First off, there's faster performance and navigation. It just performs faster, it stores the memory better. It is no longer tapping into the phone itself via Bluetooth for some basic functionality. The application loading view is now been improved. There's a control center. The side button now invokes a dock instead of the friends list. I don't know anyone who actually found the friends list useful in the old watchOSs. Did any of you? I didn't think so. In any case, there are new watch faces. Some of the watch faces can now be adjusted based on, they say, according to your watch bands. I don't know if that means from the factory it's going to be set to whatever watch band you order from the get-go. If that's the case, shame on you, Apple, because your watch bands are mind-blowingly expensive. More expensive than the watch in some cases, that's crazy. That's crazier than me doing a tech show on a gaming network. In fact, actually, that part makes some sense because tech and gaming go kind of hand in hand most days. You now quickly switch between the watch faces. There's some new apps, and most of them are silly. And some new settings and blah, 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 blah. Oh, and by the way, I was going to get to this when it comes to macOS, but let's just talk about it now. You can now have, by using the watch, automatically unlock your macOS device without having to put in a password. I don't know about you, but for $300, I'll put in the password. So, as a smartwatch user myself, though not Apple, as you can see here, what do I think of this? Well, I already told you what I thought about this. This should have been watchOS version 1. This should have been the first one. And here it is. 3 versions later. Now, I'll have a better feel for this thing when in 4 months I'll have my hands on it. And just actually try using it as someone who's not familiar with watchOS. But I'll tell you what, getting my hands on it before, oh my god, it was the most confusing thing I've ever seen in an Apple store ever, trying to navigate that thing. It was abysmal. This sounds like it's going to be easier, but I don't know if it's going to be as easy as navigating this watch. This watch is mind-blowingly easy. And still, somehow, App Store watch faces are not available. The one thing you would think that the watchOS would have from the get-go is still not here. What were you thinking? I guess we'll never know. Other than Apple so wants all the control over that watch face. I'm disappointed in you, Apple. So disappointed. But let's move on. The next thing I talked about was tvOS. This is the operating system that runs the Apple TV. And they went over a long time. They took a lot of minutes. Like, what? 10, 15 minutes explaining all the changes they did? I will sum up all the changes they did that matter in one single sentence. Are you ready? You can now just type in your username and password for your cable network once and use it to sign on to all the various services that utilize that. That means that all those various apps that check to see are you in fact a Time Warner subscriber or a Comcast subscriber or whatever it may be, you can now just sign in once and you're set forever. Now, that's actually really nifty. And that's honestly something I'm surprised that no one else has figured out yet. But that's it. Everything else is just kind of minor. Oh, hey, look, Siri's smarter. The UI is a little improved. That's it. I just summed up 10 minutes right there. The end. It's a welcome change, but that's all there is to it. The more interesting news, though, is a few things. One, OS X, commonly referred to as macOS 10, has been renamed. It is no longer OS X or OS X. It is now macOS or macOS. This was kind of rumored to, 2-3 months ago? And I said, yeah, I believe it. I believe it's finally coming. Even though for the longest time, I've been calling it macOS, you've been calling it macOS, everyone's been calling it macOS. The Genius Bar has been calling it macOS. Which I gotta say, just getting a little off topic, I am amazed at the relationship I have with the Genius Bar that's local to me. So I didn't know this. I had a laptop, a white plastic MacBook that a friend told me to look at, and I diagnosed it as probably a bad hard drive. But I wanted confirmation. I tried getting confirmation through my tools. The tools wouldn't load, so I thought, okay, this is weird. I should get it looked at. Turned out there was something very weird with the partition table. It got corrupt. The strange thing, though, is that when I got there, it seemed like everything was kind of laid out as though you're at a doctor's office. This kind of inexperienced tech, who is more familiar with personal relationships, kind of like a nurse, saw me first, and was just like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of it." And then they talked to me like I didn't know anything, and I was polite. I was like, "Oh no, that's fine." It's like, and they're just like, "All right, we'll just run some diagnostics. This is all this is." Like, no, I know the drill. Don't worry. But that didn't stop her. She was still just like, all right, just let this wait, and the actual tech will be with you in a minute. And of course, the actual tech comes out, and because I bring anytime anyone gives me a Mac to get looked at, eventually, if it's not something that I can figure out immediately, and I'm 100% certain, I'm going to end up going to the Genius Bar because it's free. And the tech comes out and it goes, "Oh, hey, Eagle, what's up?" They didn't say Eagle. They used my real name. You guys don't deserve to know my real name. So there was like, "Hey, Eagle, what's up?" It's like, "Oh, not much." And it's like, "I haven't seen you here in a while." It's like, "Yeah, it's been a bit." Well, I thought that was kind of interesting now that there's a 2-layer process to the Genius Bar at a step in tech support that's considered level 1. For those who don't know how tech support works, there's 3 levels. There's level 1, which is the customer interaction level. And that's pretty much just where initial diagnostics are done. If it's a simple problem, it's solved at level 1. If not, it's then taken in, the computer is, and sent to level 2. Those are the ones that are kind of in shop and do the majority of the heavy lifting when it comes to working on the computers. They're the ones that like replace the hard drive, reformat the OS, that sort of thing. They're the ones that usually don't have any sort of contact with the consumer at all, unless it's to explain something very strange about how the computer is no longer fixable, or if it has to go to level 3. Usually level 2 will get involved, saying, "Look, this is what it's come to. You need a motherboard replacement," and then that goes to level 3, where it gets shipped out to the hardcore experts who never see the light of day. Not because the company they work for says you can never see the light of day, because they themselves never want to see the light of day. And those of you who are not in the tech support field think I am just ripping on them. Those of you who are know, yeah, level 3 just wants to live in their bunker forever. And those are the guys who like solder on chips on motherboards and that sort of stuff. The real technical stuff, they get paid the big bucks. But they're also the most precise. So it seemed weird to try and do this 2-level system in level 1 tech support. And that's what Apple seems to be doing now. But how did I get on this? Whatever. Anyway. So, Mac OS X is now Mac OS. Just straight up Mac OS. I don't know if that means they're going to be dropping the numbers, but it seems to be the case, because right now this one's called Mac OS Sierra. Named, obviously, after the General Motors pickup truck. So, what does it bring? Brings some cool little nifty neato functionality. You can rearrange the menu bar. The most interesting is that it finally, after 10,000 years, brings Siri to the Mac. For those of you who don't live in Mac world, you're like, Wait, they haven't had that yet? We've been sitting here with Cortana, being able to go, hey, Cortana, and just have it do whatever the heck we want, except that one time mine didn't activate for some reason, which is kind of surprising. They are just now getting that. And honestly, I think I've used Cortana for all of, I don't know, the first week of installing on the first computer. I've never went and asked Cortana for anything. Well, that's all there is to it. There are some interesting little things into the macOS Sierra beta build, such as hints that there are items called LED toolbar, which points to a rumor that the new MacBook Pro is going to have an LED toolbar right above the keyboard that is capacitive in touch and brings all sorts of other additional functionality to that. It's very similar to how HP used to have a capacitive bar, except theirs wasn't an LCD at all. It was just capacitive. But that could be neat. That could be interesting. You wouldn't be, that wouldn't out Razer though, but it'd be interesting. And now we move on to iOS 10. Oh, iOS 10. So it introduces a new widget screen. Finally. There is a redesigned control center, a new raise to wake feature, new notifications in the lock screen. The message system has been overhauled and talked about for 15 minutes. And if you are impressed by that, I have some keys I can jingle in front of you as well that will entertain you equally as much. And honestly, the message overhaul just seems so mind-blowingly obnoxious. Doesn't it to you? I mean, just think about it. Is that what you really want? For someone to type something and then fireworks go off on your screen? It'd be like if I just went on my watch here and just decided, hey, you know what would be funny? If just every so often the light changed. Like this. Ooh. It's obnoxious, silly, and just... Really? The only redeeming part about this, and I don't know if it exists yet, is if you can turn it off. Turn off these functions. If I can just flip a switch and say, nope. That'd be the only redeeming part about Apple messages. So there's a lot more to go over in this. All of it really is just kind of But honestly, they're long overdue features of iOS. It's been well needed, and I'm not sure if it's going to bring anything more interesting to, say, like the iPads and whatnot. But we'll find out down the road. After all, this is just the initial announcement. More and more information will leak out as the beta testers and developers get their hands on it and just start working on it until it breaks over and over and over again. And of course, I guarantee you, any sort of super cool feature that requires the hardware, that won't be revealed until September. Why? Isn't it obvious? The iPhone 7. Or iPhone 6S2. Whichever. I hear they moved off the TikTok system, so I don't know if they're going to still call the iPhone 7 the iPhone 7. Or if they're going to come up with a new letter to put behind 6. For whatever the... What would you call that? Is there another word like TikTok you could put in there? Or would it just be TikTok talk? A second talk. I don't know. There's probably an industry term for that somewhere, and I just know nothing about it. Anyway, we'll find out more and more information about it. iOS 10 really was kind of the highlight of the show, but there was no new hardware. No new MacBooks, none of that. So, if a new MacBook Pro is coming on the pipeline, which I greatly suspect is, it's probably going to be waiting until the end of the year for Kaby Lake. So, here's the rule of thumb. Right now, if you're thinking about getting a Mac, I don't care what it is, don't. There is no Mac right now that is worth buying. Except for the MacBook Air. That's still pretty decent. That one's running Skylake, right? I should check that before I start spouting nonsense. But definitely whatever you do, don't get a new MacBook. Oh my god. That thing is gross. Nope, 5th generation. Okay, never mind. Don't buy any Macs. The only thing that's currently up-to-date hardware-wise is the straight-up MacBook. And that thing is so badly overpriced for what it is. It's not even funny. That thing should be like a $500 laptop, and it's not. It's 3 times that. Just don't do it. There's no reason to. Don't invest in MacBooks. Buy low, sell high. They are way too high right now. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech! I am Eagle Falcon. So, this came out of nowhere. I'd say it came out of left field, but it didn't even come out of there. Microsoft to buy LinkedIn for who gives a care $1 billion in cash. Where did this come from? Usually there's something that makes sense. I mean, this kind of makes sense. Just a little. I mean, LinkedIn's in the business world. Microsoft's origins are in the business world. That part makes sense. But really? LinkedIn? I mean, I guess. Whatever floats your boat, there, Microsoft. I mean, how rich Microsoft is to be able to be willing to shell out. The actual number, by the way, is is $26.2 billion in cash. That part's irrelevant. The part that is relevant is the fact that Microsoft wants to buy LinkedIn. Why? The Microsoft trying to push out Windows 10 as being the new hip thing. The Microsoft that has basically turned their back on the enterprise world and just saying, we're ignoring you for now. The same Microsoft who is investing all in on blending Xbox and Windows 10 into one super platform. They want LinkedIn? The resume social media? Why? So maybe Microsoft hasn't turned their back on the enterprise world nearly as much as we originally thought. Maybe this is their way of saying, don't worry, we got you, big business. Don't do anything stupid, like going all in with Red Hat. I could theorize forever. And all I'd be doing is just making stuff up. 100% making stuff up. That's the only way. Time will tell what this ends up being. And probably when push comes to shove, it's just going to be a disappointing moment where Microsoft just wants to make a quick buck and just buy LinkedIn and just enjoy that ad revenue from LinkedIn. That's probably what it's going to be, and we're just all speculating for nothing. Though in funnier news, the iPhone 6 is no longer for sale in China. So here's what happened. There's a Chinese company who went and made a bootleg iPhone. And they went and just quickly made this thing up, pushed it out to the China market, and then patented it. And they did this because they just went and spied on Foxconn, figured out, oh, okay, this is how it's going to look, made an Android operating system that looks close to it, and then just went, bam, done. And because this phone looks so close to the iPhone 6 because it's a bootleg copy of it, the iPhone 6 then infringes on the Chinese knockoff phone patent and is now barred from being sold in China. I'm not even mad. That's hilarious. I mean, it's sad for every single Apple fanboy in China. You can't get the iPhone 6. You can still get the more expensive iPhone 6S. That somehow... Oh wait, no, this story actually updated. This actually does include the 6S and the 6S Plus. The article I read before, that wasn't from Ars Technica, said that it was only the iPhone 6. So yeah, you have to go all the way back to the iPhone SE in order to find an iPhone that does not infringe on this bootleg patent. Well played, bootlegger. Well played. You can't even really be mad at that. It's really... It's... What else can you say about it? And the best part is, from what the rumors are saying, if Apple cannot resolve this, which most likely they'll win in court, citing that they've been citing evidence that they've been working on this since 2 years before the iPhone 6 even came out. And then they'll probably win this in the end. If they don't, however, this is going to block the iPhone 7 too, if all the rumors are correct that it keeps the same body. Whoops. I need something a bit more surreal. Oh, here we go. This will do. So, here we have Magic Leap. I am not entirely sure what Magic Leap is entirely. I'm not sure if it's a set of goggles or what the hardware is for this, and nobody seems to know. But Magic Leap is a company that works on augmented reality. Augmented reality means that it takes your perception of reality and augments it to put in images that are not there. They are working on bringing a Star Wars augmented reality experience to the living room.
Oh, might I have a word with you, please? I regret to report that due to unforeseen circumstances, we have not yet reached the desired arrangement with Jabba the Hutt regarding Captain Solo's death. An army of stormtroopers is searching for us. It can only be a matter of time before we are...
That's all digital.
Spare parts.
The hologram on the table, the two droids, that's all part of the augmented reality. Everything else in that video,
We have not yet completed the mission.
that's all real.
How did we get into this mess? I really don't know how.
But yeah, no, to clarify, it's not a VR experience. It is an AR experience. It's an augmented reality experience. So, personally, I think it's just kind of neat. I know those of you out there who are just who just kind of like Star Wars as just, oh, it's an okay sci-fi flick, are just like, yeah, that's kind of neat. It's kind of neat to see what augmented reality can do. Those of you who are Star Wars nerds out there, you can pick your jaw off the floor right now. But yeah, I assume, and I have to assume a lot, that this is done through some form of glasses. Like Google Glass or something along those lines. So that you can still see past them. Or you are using a full VR headset, and the VR headset has a camera to take in the image of your actual surroundings to project that, and then place the holograms on top of the image of your surroundings. I don't know, because these articles are refusing to say. Everyone is just talking about, oh my god, I can get C-3PO in my house. I want to know what the tech is. But we're not getting that, are we? No. Instead, the closest thing we're getting is to get this ad in the middle of this other advertisement. But all we're getting now in the real world is this new Twitter app on Android and iOS that, with a push of a button, will let you live stream from your phone very poorly out onto the world. And the reason I put this in is just for how bad and how rushed of a shoehorn this is. So for those of you who don't know, a couple weeks ago, Facebook announced that through their Facebook app, you could go and with a push of a button start broadcasting to the world. Well, Twitter owns Periscope, which is basically the same thing. Twitter finally realized that, oh, we should put one and one together to make 2. Except here they took 1 and 1 and put them together to make 1. The way this works is that, let's say for whatever stupid reason, I decided that I want to go broadcast whatever on Periscope. I can't imagine what scenario would bring me to broadcast something on Periscope. I really can't, but let's pretend that I thought of something. Or better yet, broadcast on Periscope how I'm broadcasting on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. You open up the app and you hit the stream button. Your Twitter app then closes out and then has to load up Periscope. Then Periscope goes through its several steps of loading up. And then it'll start broadcasting. About 10 seconds later. This sounds minor. And really it is. It's really just kind of a nitpicky sort of thing. But I have to ask. Is this really the best Twitter could have done to embed Periscope in? You're the same company! How do you mess this up? You're the same person! It's just awful. On multiple levels, it's awful. It's almost as awful as knowing that Napster is coming back. Now, this is really just a minor thing. So, Rhapsody, in case you didn't know, because honestly, I didn't even know, Rhapsody still exists. I am surprised as you are. If you knew that Rhapsody did exist, props to you. You are more knowledgeable. I can't even be mad at that. But Napster, apparently, when it went and died off, its corpse was sent off to Rhapsody. And now, finally, in 2016, this corpse is being resurrected and is taking over as Rhapsody. Basically, Rhapsody is just being rebranded as Napster to bring that name back. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. My only guess is that Napstablook from Undertale made the name Napster hip again. That's all I got. That's my only guess. Do I think that's the actual answer? No. No, I don't. But that's the closest I have to any explanation. So, let's shift gears a bit. Onto some actual E3 news. So one of the many things that Microsoft announced, and by the way, for those of you who are keeping score, Microsoft basically won E3. Followed by Nintendo, and then followed by Sony. Sony was just kind of Nintendo brought in a ton of hype with Pokemon Sun and Moon and a new Zelda game. I'm not sure how it generated so much hype, but it definitely did. And then Xbox just nailed it with the reveal of the Xbox Slim, which, okay, and then announcing Project Scorpio, which we'll get to later. And then this little gem, Xbox Play Anywhere. So earlier I was talking about how Xbox and Windows 10 is kind of blurring the lines a little bit between the two platforms. This is how. there will be a select number of digital titles, meaning games that do not come on an Xbox disc, that you can start playing on your Xbox One, and then let's say, okay, you stop playing for a while. That's as far as you're going to get tonight. You need to actually go to bed. And then you go to work, and then let's say you're on your lunch break. You can then take out your laptop, assuming you can actually play games, and then progress in your game during your lunch break. Or between classes, or whatever. I'm trying to think of a scenario, and I'm struggling to do so, really. It's still just it's still a function that this sounds so much cooler on paper than it is going to be in the real world. Let's be perfectly honest. This is going to be useless. No one is ever going to do this, just like nobody keeps their gaming PC on so that they can stream games to their living room through Steam. Nobody does that. I tried it for a while to see how it worked, and then realized, yep, this sucks. And this was through a hardwired gaming rig to a hardwired laptop. It just didn't work. The encoding was just bleh. This doesn't run that risk of the terrible encoding and whatnot, but it does run the risk of why. Maybe someone has an idea for how this would be used that I can't think of. But again, I can't think of it. Alright, we're going to take a quick break here. When we get back, let's talk about some of the other kind of sleeper little things that were snuck in to E3. Oh yeah, and this strange, obscure thing that definitely didn't bring in all the hype called Xbox Scorpio. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. First time live with this show on Twitch. Don't know if it's going to stay that way. We'll see. Although I have come to the conclusion that streaming problems that this show has had is definitely the software, not the host. Even though hosting on YouTube is still an abysmal mess. In any case. So, normally PC manufacturers, when at E3, just show up and push out whatever they got. Because usually there's not a refresh of PC hardware during E3. Or during the E3 season. This year was an exception in that the new GPUs are slowly being leaked out now ever since Computex. And new super high-end CPUs were announced. So Alienware launched a few things, and some of them are kind of cute, but we'll go over them in a minute. So for starters, their base, we're going to start with the Alienware Alpha. The Alpha is what Alienware designed as their Steam box. It's a small Xbox-sized computer. It runs on x86 architecture, and that's pretty much all there is really to it. It's cute, it's small, and it's the cheapest thing that Alienware sells. This sounds good until you look at the specs. So, starting at $500, you get a 4th generation Intel Core i3. That would be no. What would it be? It'd be Haswell. Right? Yes, that would be Haswell. It'd be a Haswell Core i3 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 5 gig hard drive, and what is simply referred to as a GeForce GTX GPU. That means abso-frickin-lutely nothing. Nothing is said there. However, through research the last time this came out, I can already tell you that A, this is the old generation. This is the first gen of the Alienware Alpha. Which means that GPU is an NVIDIA GTX 745. Maxwell architecture, 60 watt part if I remember right. You know, it's decent, respectable graphic card. Here's the thing though, if you went and got this and wanted to run some of the latest games like, let's say Overwatch. Overwatch is the new cool thing that everyone plays that actually stresses the hardware a little bit. This is only going to run it on low. Guaranteed low. It's not even going to run it at Xbox quality. The capability isn't there. Now, you move on to from here on up, these are all clearly new. You have 6th generation Core i3 processor. That is going to be Skylake. That's the newest you can get until Kaby Lake comes out later this year. Alright, so it has a core. So here's the actual processor, 6100T. We look that up. And you get a dual core processor. 3.2 gigahertz though. That's kind of neat. No turbo boost, no overclocking. But it is hyper-threading, so it will pretend it's a quad-core. When we all know the truth, it is not. Here is the interesting thing, though. It is running an AMD R9 M470X. You know what's cute about that graphic card there? It's not out yet. It's been revealed. And the best part is that is completely contrary to the naming scheme that AMD is using currently. They're currently, if you don't know, are moving on to kind of a naming scheme very similar to the NVIDIA series. They've been calling themselves the RX 480 or the RX 470 or the RX 460. That's what they've been calling their desktops. This is called the R9. Which just makes me wonder why. This one has 8 gigs of RAM, 500 gig hard drive, Built-in wireless, etc., etc., etc. That one's actually not too bad. $600, and you're getting, really, when push comes to shove, basically Xbox level performance. You're getting the Xbox One S performance out of that. Once you get higher than that, you're getting a Core i5, Core i7. I'm not sure if they're going to say whether they're dual core or quad core. They are not, so I'm going to have to look that up again. That one's quad core. And that one's also obviously going to be quad core. So both quad-core processors, those are going to be using GTX 960 GPUs. Not even the mobile version. Straight up 960s. Which, again, 960 isn't released yet. So either these are on pre-order, or Alienware has got themselves some early stock. Now, those are interesting and all, but A, no upgradability in there. You get one of these, that's it. There is no upgrading this sucker. There's barely a way into these suckers. Well, I take that back. There is one way to upgrade these things. And that's with the Alienware graphics amplifier. And that is this huge box that dwarfs the Alpha. You can see it right there. This thing way back here, that extends for about a foot behind it. And that connects to the Alienware Alpha, and you can put any GPU you want into that thing. Anything. Except for a Titan Z. You can't fit a Titan Z in there. Anything else, though, you can do it. Except for those AMD water-cooled required rigs. I don't think there's any way to jury-rig one of those in there. So there's some upgradability. Here's the thing, though. The only one that's going to be worth upgrading is going to be that $950 Alienware Alpha. Because it's got that Core i7. That processor has a future. That Core i5, it's stuck at 2.8. It's not going to take long for that thing to get outdated. Like 3 years, 4 years, it's going to start hitting its limits. That i7 you can get 6 or 7, definitely. So with a graphic amplifier, you can squeeze more life out of that $950 one. But for $950, you can get a better rig. You can either build a better rig in a similar form factor, or, better yet, you can get a better rig out of, not this one, out of the new Alienware Aurora, within the same company. But in any case, before we move on, let's just quickly go over the Steam Machine versions. These run SteamOS, and honestly, the $600 version that I actually liked is gone out of the SteamOS version. But the higher end versions are still there. Go figure. I'm not sure what the design choice was there. That makes no sense. So, the Aurora is back. For those of you who are not sure or don't know about Alienware's lineup, the Aurora was their top tier desktop that ran on the Enthusiast processors. It died to get replaced by the Area 51, which we'll get to the Area 51 in a minute because that also got updated. This thing now came back with a new look that looks very much classical tower. And I'm going to see if the gallery will let me get a look inside it. I hope so, because they actually did some things on the inside I really, really like. Alright, well that's the best we're going to get. Which is kind of disappointing. Maybe I can quickly find something better. But anyway. So this thing now This thing now runs the 11... This now runs the 1151 socket on the inside, instead of the 2011 socket on the inside. So that means you're going to be limited to a quad core on the inside, etc., etc. It's actually a lot slimmer than the other Auroras, though the other Auroras were really huge. I think it's the best look we're going to get. No, I can do better than that. But basically, normally, the old designs went ahead and just hooked up a water cooling block to the exact rear, and if you hug this thing too close to the wall, you'd suffocate the water cooling block. That's why they went with the triangle design of the... Yeah, I think that's going to be the best I get. Yeah. Alright, we'll use this one. In any case. They used to have it back here. If you had the computer too close to the wall, you'd suffocate it. The reason they moved to this strange triangle design of the Area 51 was to improve airflow. Which it does, kinda, sorta, but What they did here is that they've done what I have been saying that every single PC builder should have been doing since 2006! And that's if you are going to use a water cooling block, mount your stupid radiator on the top of the rig. Finally, 11 years after I've been preaching this about builds, they finally went and did it. That's why I've been trying to find a picture, because it will show that underneath this power supply here, the water cooling radiator is actually up here in this open space right up here, which nobody can see because it's not capturing my mouse right now. And then they also went ahead and mounted the power supply like this, so this vent that now covers this side, like right here, this vent now just will actually take in fresh air through the power supply, and then also this other vent here will let the graphic cards suck in fresh air. It's like Alienware claims that they took what they learned from the Area 51 and applied it to this thing. It looks like they finally just went ahead and read the frickin' Newegg comments from people who actually build computers. So, that was the sole reason this was in. Well, first off, it's a new product. They announced it at E3. And, you know, we've got the new GTX 950, GTX 970s, and GTX 1080 available. And wait, did I say these things were the 950? I did say those things were the 960. Alright, so earlier when I said that the 960 is a new GPU, I lied. That's the old generation. I lost track of my numbers. I sincerely apologize about that. 960 is an old GPU. The 470 is a new one. So I apologize about that with the alpha. So anyway, new product, all current gen stuff. Starting at $800 is not bad, but let's be honest. For $800, you or I could go build a better rig than this for $800. It's just finally nice to see that Alienware is showing some brains when it comes to actually building a rig. I mean, that's all there really is to this. It's just about time. And let's be perfectly honest, this thing's going to be obsolete in, what, 3-4 years? When the rest of the GTX 10 series comes out, and when the 7th generation Intel Core series processors are going to come out, dubbed Kaby Lake. So let's move on to the Pyramid. This thing, let's be perfectly honest, you can't build this. I cannot go out and find a ridiculous looking triangle case to go build a rig into. I will perfectly admit that. I can go basically build the Alienware Aurora. I cannot build the Area 51. That being said, why the heck would you? Who woke up one day and decided, I need a triangle case? So, if you want a triangle case, here you go. Go nuts. Go shell out your $2,000 for a gaming rig that can actually game. So that being said, let's actually talk about what they changed. What they changed is that these actually include the new Haswell E processors that were introduced. When did I talk about those? 2 weeks ago at Computex? So yes, now you too, for the small amount of $5,000, have a 10-core gaming rig that is water-cooled and can be overclocked to 3.8 gigahertz. With a single GTX 1080 in it. What else can you say? This is how you quickly burn money. Now, yes, I could go ahead and find someone, as the chat is recommending, to go and mold a triangle-shaped case. Well, I don't know anyone that I can go have injection mold a triangle case. Maybe if I searched hard enough, Lee & Lee has something for me. I mean, they made a desk case. Surely they've got something equally stupid. They might have a triangle case. And actually, as far as the cylinder case goes, MSI does have a bare-bones system that you can build up using a cylinder. There is that. But in any case, I've actually got to stop right here for right now. So unfortunately, we can't talk a little bit more. I have to go ahead and cut it short. We're over time right now. I'll stick around for the post-show, talk a little bit more about the stuff. I'll save Project Scorpio for next week. We'll be here 12 o'clock Central Time. This will, of course, be on YouTube, as all my other episodes of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Take care, everyone. Rest well. Good night, everyone. Or good afternoon, in this case.